My name is Miriam, and I was 19 years old when everything happened. The date was April 14th, 2017, a day I can never forget no matter how much time passes. That morning started like any other, but before the sun settled, a group of armed extremists invaded our area. The noise, the shouting, the rush, it all came like a storm. In the confusion, I was taken away from my home, separated from everything and everyone I knew. I didn't understand why it was happening. All I knew was that my life had suddenly turned into something frightening and unclear. I grew up in a small, simple family. My parents always tried their best to give me stability even when life was hard. My father worked as a mechanic, and my mother sold vegetables in the market. We didn't have much, but we had peace, laughter, and long evenings where we shared stories about school. I was the first girl in my family to finish secondary school, and I had dreams of becoming a nurse one day. I loved helping people, and my teachers often told me I had a calm spirit that made others feel safe. Life was gentle, predictable, and full of purpose. Our way of living was soft and humble. Every morning I helped my mother prepare her goods. Every evening I helped my younger cousins with their homework. I was known as the girl who read a lot, prayed a lot, and smiled easily. That was who I was, until the day everything changed. When the extremists came, I felt like the world turned cold instantly. One of them told me with a harsh tone that I belonged to them now. Another revealed to me that they had been watching our village for months. A third showed me by his behavior that kindness did not live in their hearts. Their words and actions carried a message of control and intimidation, and all I could do was breathe slowly and hope for strength. The persecution I faced did not start with physical harm, but with fear, isolation, and the constant threat of what might happen next. They kept me in a small, crowded place with other women who were just as scared as I was. Every day felt heavy. The extremists used silence against us, making us worry about every sound outside the door. They pressured us to give up our identity, to accept their beliefs, and to stop holding on to the faith that shaped our lives. One of the men told me I had no future unless I obeyed them. Another told me my faith meant nothing. A third revealed to me that they wanted to break our spirits before anything else. Those words pierced deeply. It wasn't just the danger around me, it was the feeling of being cut away from my world, my dreams, my voice. I cried quietly at night, not because I wanted to give up, but because I felt my heart fighting to stay alive inside a darkness that didn't belong to me. I held on to my faith in secret, whispering prayers in my mind when I couldn't speak them out loud. And even though everything felt lost, a small spark of hope stayed with me, refusing to die. That was the beginning of my journey, the beginning of a testimony I never expected to live. What happened next would test every part of who I was, and also show me a kind of strength I didn't know I carried. The days after my capture felt like they moved slowly, as if time itself had become afraid. I was taken to a place that looked abandoned, dusty walls, broken windows, and a cold floor that felt like it was trying to swallow my hope. I remember sitting in a corner, hugging my knees, trying not to shake even though fear held me tightly. The extremists made it clear that my life no longer belonged to me. One of them told me I would not be allowed to make my own choices anymore. Another revealed to me that they wanted to shape me into someone who followed their orders without question. A third showed me with his behavior that kindness had no space in their hearts. Their words and actions pressed down on my spirit, trying to make me feel small and powerless. The persecution was heavy, not because of physical harm, but because of the emotional prison they built around me. They took away my comfort, my freedom, and even my silence. We were watched all the time. When I tried to whisper a prayer, one of them heard my trembling voice and told me that my faith was useless there. Hearing that cut deeply, not because I believed him, but because he wanted me to believe I was alone. Every morning started with fear. The sound of footsteps approaching our door felt like a storm rolling in. Sometimes they entered just to stare at us, reminding us that our lives were in their hands. They told us to forget our names, our families, our dreams. They wanted obedience, not identity. It felt like they were peeling away everything I had ever been. One day, a man came inside and revealed to me their plan. He said they wanted to break our spirits first, because a broken heart is easier to control than a hopeful one. Those words made my chest tighten. I felt like the walls were moving closer, pressing against my breath. That was emotional persecution. Being told your faith and your voice were worthless. Being made to feel like your future was gone. It was a pain that didn't show on the skin, but tore at the soul. At night, when the place grew quiet, the darkness felt heavier than the day. I lay awake listening to the faint sobs of the other girls. Their pain was a mirror of my own. Sometimes one of them would whisper that she missed her mother. Another would whisper that she wished she had gone to school one last time. We all carried stories we couldn't share out loud. Our suffering tied us together, like invisible threads connecting our hearts. But even inside that fear, something inside me refused to die. I held on to my faith silently, like a candle hidden inside my chest. I remembered how my mother used to pray over me before I left for school. I remembered the soft smile of my father when he fixed a broken toy for a child. I remembered the warm mornings in my village when life felt safe. These memories became my secret strength. One night, while I sat alone in a corner, a guard passed by and told me I should give up my hope because no one was coming. Another guard revealed to me that resistance would only make things harder. Their words were cold, meant to crush me, but they unknowingly pushed me closer to my faith instead. I felt something inside whisper that I was not forgotten, even if the world around me felt dark. Persecution does not always come with loud pain. Sometimes it comes quietly, through fear, pressure, and attempts to erase who you are. That is what they tried to do to me, erase my identity, weaken my courage, and make me forget the God I trusted. But deep inside, a small spark remained. A spark I would later learn was stronger than anything they tried to take from me. That was how my second chapter began, with fear on the outside and a quiet, growing strength on the inside that even I did not fully understand yet. Days turned into nights, and nights felt even longer. I lost count of time because every moment felt the same, heavy, uncertain, and cold. But something began to change inside me. Even though fear still lived around me, I started to sense a quiet presence that softened the weight of everything happening. One evening, after a long day of tension and silence, I sat alone near the wall. My hands were shaking from hunger and fear, and my mind felt tired from trying to stay strong. I remember breathing slowly, trying not to cry because I didn't want the others to worry. That was when I felt something, soft, peaceful, like a warm hand resting over my heart. It wasn't physical, it was inside me. I didn't hear a voice, but I felt a message, that I was seen, that I was not abandoned, that God still knew my name. That small comfort brought tears to my eyes, not from fear this time, but from hope. A guard passed by later that night and told me that faith was useless here. He revealed to me that the world outside had forgotten us. He showed me through his behavior that they believed fear had already won inside our hearts, but his words did not break me the way they used to. Instead, they made me cling even more tightly to the quiet strength I felt earlier. Inside that same room, another girl named Amina sat beside me. She didn't speak much, but she carried a sadness that even the darkness respected. One night she leaned closer and told me she wished she had the same calm she saw in my eyes. She revealed to me that she felt like she was fading inside, losing herself little by little. I told her, with a trembling but honest voice, that I wasn't strong. I was just holding on to something bigger than me. She understood without needing many words. From that day, she started sitting next to me whenever fear grew stronger. Our unity gave us strength. We shared tiny moments of courage, things like holding hands when the guards shouted, whispering prayers in our minds, and reminding each other that our lives still had meaning, even if everything around us felt broken. The persecution became heavier in another way. The extremists increased their pressure. They watched us more closely. They told us to forget our past and accept their control. One of them revealed to me that my dreams, my wish to become a nurse, my desire to help people didn't matter in this place. He wanted me to feel like my future was gone. Hearing that felt like someone pushing a cold stone into my chest. Dreams were the one thing I clung to quietly at night. Losing them would have meant losing myself. But instead of collapsing, something rose inside me. I felt a steady whisper in my heart telling me not to let go. Even in the middle of fear, I began to experience small miracles. A girl who had not spoken for days suddenly told me she felt peace when I prayed silently near her. A guard who always stared at us with anger one day looked away, as if something in my eyes made him uncomfortable. Amina, who used to cry silently every night, started telling me she wanted to live, not just survive. It was like a gentle light was spreading among us, even if the room was still dim and frightening. The extremists did not know what was happening inside our hearts. They only saw our silence, not the strength growing inside it. They thought they were breaking us, but instead they were pushing us toward a deeper courage, a courage not born from ourselves, but from faith. It wasn't easy. Every day was a battle between fear and hope, but hope started winning small pieces of my heart again. And slowly, without anyone noticing, that quiet strength began preparing me for something I could not see coming, something that would change everything.
One morning, the extremists seemed restless. Their movements were sharp, their voices tense, and their eyes kept scanning the distance. One of them passed us quickly and told me that things were changing outside. Another revealed to me that they had heard sounds they did not like. A third showed me through his hurried steps that they were uncertain about what would happen next. The fear inside the room grew thicker. Amina held my hand so tightly that I could feel her heartbeat shaking through her palm. We didn't speak, but we understood each other's fear. The air felt heavy, like the whole place knew something was about to happen. Suddenly, loud noises came from outside, not violent sounds, just the sound of people shouting in the distance. It was confusing, frightening, and unclear. The guards rushed out of the room, leaving us alone for the first time in a long time. For a moment, we all sat frozen, not knowing if this was danger or deliverance. My heart pounded so loudly I could feel it in my throat. I whispered a prayer inside my mind, asking for strength. I didn't ask to be rescued. I asked for courage, whatever happened next. Minutes passed like hours. Then someone from outside shouted something we could not understand. One of the older girls pressed her ear to the door and told us that she heard footsteps running away, not toward us. That tiny detail brought a small breath of hope into the room. Amina looked at me with wide eyes. She revealed to me that she felt something different, something peaceful, like a sign that our suffering was coming to an end. I didn't know if she was right, but I felt it too, deep in my chest. With trembling hands, one of the girls pushed the door gently. To our shock, it opened. The guards had left so quickly they forgot to lock it. For a moment, we all stood still, afraid it was a trick, but the hallway was empty, completely empty. I stepped out first, my legs shaking as if they were learning how to walk again. The quiet around us felt unreal. We moved carefully, staying close to each other. My breath felt tight with fear and hope mixing together. When we reached the outside of the building, the sunlight touched my skin for the first time in what felt like forever. It was warm, almost too warm, like it was washing away the cold days behind me. I looked around and saw that the area was empty, as if the place had been abandoned in a hurry. I will never forget the way Amina cried softly beside me, not from fear, but from the feeling of freedom returning to her heart little by little. We walked until we reached a nearby village where kind people found us. They didn't ask questions at first. They brought water, food, blankets. One of them told me that we were safe now. Another revealed to me that help had been searching for missing girls for weeks. A third showed me compassion by placing a warm cloth around my shoulders. For the first time in a long time, I felt human again. As days passed, I started rebuilding myself slowly. My body was weak, but my spirit felt different, stronger, deeper, softer. What I survived did not destroy me, it shaped me. It taught me the power of hope, the strength of faith, and the importance of standing strong even when everything around you tries to break you. I still cry sometimes. I still remember the fear, the pressure, the emotional pain. But I also remember the courage that grew inside me when everything felt lost, and I remember how faith kept my heart alive. My testimony is not just about suffering, it is about surviving, believing, and rising again. And now I share it so others will know you are never truly alone, even in the darkest place. To every Christian across the world reading this, I encourage you, please pray for those who are still persecuted for their faith. Pray for strength, protection, and courage for them. Your prayers matter more than you know. And if anyone reading this wants to start a new life with God, you can do that right now. If it feels right in your heart, you may say this simple prayer. God, I come to you with an open heart. Please forgive me and help me start again. I want to walk in your light and know your peace. Thank you for loving me. Amen. You are loved, you are seen, and your story is not finished.